go live, they said. It would be fun, they said. Oh, hi guys. How's it going? We're back.
Hi, Stuart!
Hi, Samuel. Sam. Sammy. Commander. Dipshit. Dumbass. I'm just kidding. I was running out of names for you. Had to make some up on the spot. All 25 of, well, 21 that are here now. Hit that like button if you haven't already.
Right now?
Yeah, right? Do it now.
Do it! Do it now! Yes.
Yeah, we're here today talking about ship designs. Which design language or aesthetic is the nicest out of all the species, not including Federation?
Yes. As I said to you earlier, that's an interesting debate by itself because, as the thumbnail suggests, I put Romulan, Dominion, Cardassian, Klingon, and Vulcan. Well, all of those are single race fleets except the Dominion, but then also are slave labor, drug addicted people, and cloned bodies. Are they designing ships? Probably not. Who knows? They're all single race, but the Federation is. They've got Vulcan designers, Andorian designers, Tellurite designers. So, is this Endor a human design? So that's a bit weird one to. That's the whole point. We're unified, So, yeah. Plus, I guess just off the bat, there's a much grander variety of designs within Federation. Oberth, Centaur, Excelsior, Refit, quite different on the spectrum versus D6, D7, Vorcha. There's a lot more similarity, I guess. We can do more radical things in Trek, especially when you throw in like Discovery stuff. It's like, that's a thing that they're doing. So, yeah.
Yeah, 4-4 real. Says Borg cube for the win. Yes, the Borg can be included in this. All of them can be, not just the ones on the thumbnail. So, and I was thinking about the Borg actually earlier today. The cube, the sphere, the diamond, their little probe thing, the rectangles, like very simple shapes. So, yeah, it is a design language. So, anyway, yeah, we're going to talk about them and see which ones you guys like the best, and hopefully have a good discussion. Captain Casey Stewart, member for 4 months at the rank of Commander. Thank you, Commander. My favorite non-Federation is Breen and the Xindi.
Xindi was another tricky one to include or not because it's 7 races.
I thought it was only 5.
Or 5. And they each have 2 ships each, but they're all radically different on purpose. So it's like, well, how do you necessarily...
Yeah. And Reliant 1864 says the Krenim time weapon from the Year of Hell. Yeah, we only saw one of their ship designs, so we can't really get a feel for their design language per se. Yeah,
we saw the warship and the small ship, but the whole point of it was that they were getting temporally modified as they went. So what in one timeline was an epic warship, now is a crappy scout ship. Doesn't really reflect the.
Yeah.
But I might throw those in at some point. Just yeah.
We'll talk about them if you want. But yeah.
All right, I am going to start sharing.
Go for it. 27 are you here? 22 likes. Hit that like button if you haven't already. You guys know the routine. Yeah. If you want to join the channel, there's a join button down there. Consider clicking that and joining. We really appreciate that. It's kind of like a monthly way to help us out. Or for another monthly way, head on over to Patreon/Trekyards. You can support us there as well, monthly again, which is awesome. Some people do both. They join the channel and they help us out on Patreon, which those guys are awesome. So, or you can click the links down below. There are links to the Teespring and the TeePublic store where you can see cool Trekyards merchandise. And we're quite proud of our designs. So go check them out and see if there's anything that you guys would be interested in. With this seed ship, from the animated series Beyond the Farthest Star or whatever. That's like an organic ship. I mean, we could talk about it if you wanted to, but kind of an odd choice considering the other ones that we could talk about. But anyway, the SS bought in eBay. That doesn't count. But yeah, well, it should be a good discussion. We want you guys to super chat in with your thoughts. Super chats do help the channel and show your support for us, and we really appreciate that. And so if you can, please do. We do read them all on the air, so it's a good way to get your voice heard, your question answered or asked. Maybe not answered to your satisfaction, but at least asked on the air. We really value all of our community and the people that super chat. And all the super chats. So if you can, please do. And if you can't, that's all right. Just share it around, share the video around, like the video, do all the things that you can do to help out in that regard as well. So, bum.
And also before we get into the meat of it, I want to gently pimp our Titan work. As you guys know, we revealed to the world at the beginning of our Titan Tuesday and Titan Thursday a Picard promotional thing we're doing. I say that, but I mean I did them off my own back to be good for us, be good for them, show the ship, we love the ships, etc. And that we had the Protostar mold done for the second batch of 10, and a Cerritos done for the first batch of... We keep drying this, but this is the first time I've managed to do it properly ahead of time. Yes. So the first animation came out yesterday, Titan at Warp, 4.7 thousand views on our YouTube. But that was not the only place that it was shared, Stuart, and my goodness, it's nice when something goes big. Terry Metalis, of course, the showrunner of Picard, he actually shared it several times in several different formats. Your post, my post, his own post. Gates McFadden, Crusher herself, shared the animation as well, retweeted it on Twitter. So I'm pleased to report that the post has 111,000 views on Twitter.
Wow. So that was our views.
And the views of the video are 34,000. So 11,000 people scrolled and saw Terry's video post, and 34,000 people clicked on it. There's 174 retweets, 23 quote tweaks, and almost 1,200 likes. So, yeah. That's from his share of the video himself. So, yeah, 34,000 views. In just over a day.
Impressive.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
And the Trekyards logo is in all of those. Like, everyone has seen our Trekyards logo.
Yay.
Yeah. As much as that helps, you never know. But yeah, there you go. Trying to bring that up because it's pretty cool, Stuart. We never had that for Might Man or the Hagerman. So it's our first time we've got a showrunner actively sharing our stuff and getting a large reaction. So yay. Happy days.
Yeah, that's great.
Next one comes
cool.
tomorrow.
Yeah, our subscribers have jumped a bit too, so that's good.
Ooh, yes, I hadn't checked. I was excited to check.
Not a lot, but in the last 8 days it's really gone up because of that. So anyway, yeah, that's a good thing. So look forward to those on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Mm-hmm. And I'll probably
Tuesdays, Thursdays.
I'll probably also release the Protostar animations that came with the videos but weren't released separately on Saturdays as well, to make 3 animations a week, which would be hopefully good.
Fancy.
Yeah, try to be.
Yeah. So those ones, please, guys, like them, share them around.
Yes. Super important.
When you see them, yeah. Wherever you think Star Trek fans will appreciate them.
Because they will. We had some lovely comments on people like, "Oh my god."
A lot of them about the warp effect in the Starfield. So many.
Yes.
Starship USS T-Ho, £5.
Thank you.
Trekyards, this is USS T-Ho requesting permission to dock. Vok is chasing us, trying to say K-less. But good animation, Mr. Cockings. Permission granted. Welcome aboard.
Kailash. Yes. Dear me. Okay, so Stuart. What is your gut reaction when presented with this idea of the different branches of the alien races? Not just necessarily limited to this is thumbnail. What do you think would you classify as your best, and why? The why is the important bit.
Well, the first thing that popped into my head is, do we include games? Because games like Armada and some other ones definitely have some add-ons to, like, the Cardassians or whatever, and there's some pretty funky designs in there. So
just the canon, because then everyone's seen them, versus only so many people have played the old games, versus most people have seen TNG, etc. So stick with what everyone's seen. Otherwise, we could say like the Iconians from Stowe, and it's like, oh, it's a bit of a disservice to 50 years of Trek to say the one race from the one game beats everything else. It's like, well,
no, it has to be a canon thing. It has to be some canon ships, but if they're expanded in games, I have no problem with that. But anyway, Honestly, nothing really popped into my head. I thought Cardassian right away. Then I kind of drifted to Romulan and then thinking about the scout ship and things like that. And it's like, eh. But I think I finally settled on my brain. Kind of went to the Klingons next. And the Klingons, like you said, they keep their designs pretty simplistic, and they do keep the same things going on, even using the same ships for a long time. And as we've always said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they kind of have that mentality. So honestly, I'd say the Klingons would be my answer, but I'm willing to have my mind changed about that, honestly. So that's kind of my thought process as I kind of first heard about this. And then I thought, what about the Borg? And it's like, that'd be funny. They're just cubes. And then it's like, wait a minute, no, there's not. There's spheres, there's diamonds, there's the rectangular ones. So yeah, it's quite an interesting idea for a topic, because each one does have its own design language. Like you can see where everything ties together. So yeah, so Klingons for me. How's about, well, before I ask you, we got a poll up. So guys, go vote on the poll. Who has the best ship designs overall? Klingons, Romulans, Cardassians, or the Borg? Go vote.
Yeah.
What about you?
Thought the Borg was a good shout. It's funny because these are questions that if we were at the bar having drinks and wings, as you always say, this might come up. We'll have a half-hour discussion. It'd be great.
This is the exact kind of conversation we'd have.
Yes, 100%. And it's something that most people wouldn't necessarily bring up, especially when you have these visuals, which I think is a nice way of seeing the collage, because most of these shows are based on the older shows of miniatures, and the limitations were part of the charm. But you think to the Cardassian fleet, galore, a new back bit, Keldon.
Yeah.
Well, it's a new back bit. Hideki, yes, fine. That's so really like the language is super distinct, really distinct, right? But the variation is super low. Romulans, actually quite a good amount of variety, and actually thematically quite different things, and include TOS, so that's quite broad. Klingons, really consistent, loads of ships, all within categories. There's a Bird of Prey category, the auxiliary category, and the D category into the battleship category. They're all sort of the same, but also all very different. The Dominion, 3 ships, all very different, but you can see a nice design language shared. Very different, only 3. And then Vulcan, it's like 6, huge variety, but there's not too many details. It's Enterprise, so they all have a unique sort of selling point. Because I would probably say in this shot the Cardassian is a more striking ship than the Vulcan ship.
Yeah.
But you're gonna jump in there with something else. What are you gonna say?
I was going to say, speaking of selling points, here's an ad. They also had a really good selling point. It was that ad. So we're comparing the Cardassian to...
In this picture, though, just in terms of like what's striking visual, Cardassian or Vulcan? For me, the Cardassian, just the more I look at it, like that is a striking visual.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say the Cardassian, just because of the greebly detailing on it, honestly. Vulcan is a lot smoother. That's, seems like they've been doing ships for quite a bit longer, and they've just got fancy with it now. The Cardassians are all business. But yes, I would agree 100% with that.
Because I was again, this is, you look at it, it's a little bit different. The Vulcans are so sleek and lovely and organic, but then you stare at it and it's like, right, well, it's a shape, there's some lines and a ring. So ends the design discussion, Cardassian, it's got so many different emitters, it's got blinkies, it's got weapons, it's got engines, it's got pincers, it's got greeblies, it's got you can see the bridges. It's so much more fluid and leveled. Like, you understand where the shoulder bays are, and there's a fighter bay potentially and a weapon. Like, it's really, like, visually more interesting. And it's funny because that's like a 5-year younger 3D model as well, but it kind of looks better almost. Almost.
Yeah. No, yeah, seeing the different aspects is definitely a selling point for sure.
So even if it's just one style of ship, give or take, it's so much more visually interesting. Even the Vulcans only have 6 ships, and I think this is sort of the most interesting of the Vulcan ships of the Enterprise variety. So the most interesting ship doesn't compare to the classic TNG one. Yeah. If I was to, there.
Well, Walter Carroll says, the ISC, I'm an old school Starfleet Battles player in the series Romulan Warbird, the old school ones. ISC is the Interstellar Concordium, so I hear you, Walter. Um, Tab Extra, though, puts in 100 krona, so thank you. First of
Nice.
all, I love the elegant ships of Starfleet, but personally, I prefer compact ships with compact hulls and hate negative space like in Discovery. I mean, you say negative space, but the Romulans are, the D'Deridex is huge negative space. Even the Vulcans do.
And it's funny because I said this song the other day. I think there's technically less internal volume in a D'Deridex than an Enterprise in a Galaxy class, because there aren't really spaces in the wings of the D'Deridex. It's material, so you've only got the front and the back and the bottom bit. The Galaxy is all livable space.
But that head is so dense, and so is the tail. You look at all the different decks that are there, and then you start to include like all that interior volume in the head. It would equal out pretty well, I think.
Although you'd think it would be a lot of weapons, a lot of guns, a lot of tactical things, a lot of torpedoes, a lot more, because if they've got to fit all of the, fuel storage and, I mean, although how big is a quantum singularity core?
Not really big, I would imagine. But...
Well, it's holding a star, you'd think, or artificial star. But anyway, so it's just an interesting concept. Like, you said it being giant, but it's not actually giant, it's just there's a giant hole in it.
Yeah.
It's hollow in a sense.
Yeah, I think of all the cargo bays and shuttle bays that are in the bottom of that thing as well.
Yeah.
And that front emitter, I mean, I know it's not an emitter, it's a deflector, but it turned into a weapons port.
Mm-hmm.
And you can imagine that since there's not a lot of windows around there, a lot of that could be machinery for things like that, like fuel storage and or weapon storage. Kind of silly to store those both side by side. But anyway, yeah. I'd be interested to find out the exact number for internal volume on the Galaxy class versus the D'Deridex for sure.
Because the saucer is very wide, and we know how big the internal shuttle bay is. It's a cavern.
Yeah. Depends on the scaling, though. What's the exact scaling of each ship? I've seen different ones over the years. And there's one by Andrew Probert where they're like saucer to nose. And that one, it looks like the Romulan Warbird would have way more internal volume.
I think the idea is the Galaxy fits inside the middle, and you can maneuver it in just. That's kind of the hallmark of it. Yeah,
it's hard to tell. That'd be a good question for Andrew, actually. To be fair. But yeah. And I mean, how many other Romulan designs have we seen? We saw the D'Deridex, we saw the Scout. We saw a shuttle.
We saw the science ship, scout ship, Kitbash, where they just changed the head.
Yeah. We saw the
Valdor.
The Vorcha. No, not the Vorcha, the Valdor, yes. That's what I was thinking.
We saw
that seems like the next iterative step of design, though.
But it's also so different, though.
I know.
Obviously, the TOS Bird of Prey and the Enterprise Bird of Prey, which are obviously the same but different. I mean, they also have similar vibes, either Bird of Prey or a Warbird variant. And then obviously, the giant hole that is TOS. It's now grey for some reason, and curved warp grill, warp themselves for some reason, versus always green and pointy. Now we're curved and grey. It's like, okay. That was a trend. That was a trend at the time.
Yeah. Malonius 5 throws in $5, so thank you. Love Romulan ship exteriors, but interiors of alien ships aren't given the time or budget in like places I'd want to spend time in. I almost agree with you, but I mean, we've seen the caveat there is want to spend time in. We see a lot of internals on Klingon ships. And those are not places I would want to spend time on, but they definitely have those fleshed out. Romulan ships, not so much. We see the odd bridge design here and there, but nothing too detailed, really, as far as corridors or any other kind of rooms go. I don't even know about Cardassian ships, really. We kind of see just like the back of the bridge in most cases. That's a good question, actually.
Yeah, it's tricky. Yeah, the budget. I mean, the miniatures always look great. that's where they spend the money. And yeah, they always make a back set. It's like I was watching the Iconian episode, and it was fun to then see, you imagine reading the script as a prop guy, you got to build all this stuff, and then suddenly, bam, now you walk onto Roman the Derek Expert bridge. It's like, oh shit, I've got 4 minutes left in the episode, I've got to build in, where's the budget going to come? And it's just this very plain room with pillars, and they have it in fog, and it's dark, and you don't get a sense of scale. There's no displays really. It's very basic because they just took part of stage 4, fictional stage 4, and just sort of assembled something. So it's interesting when you just don't get fleshed out, because even when you see into it, like when in DS9 the Founders' homeworld's being attacked, they do walk the corridors, and they spend half an episode in that ship. It's mostly interrogation room, and the CG budget's way higher, so they put money into that because that's more important than a nicer corridor. And at the end of the day, is it worth spending extra 10k to curve the girders in your 1 day shoot corridor, or keep them angled, take 1/10 the time, get them out there?
That's the thing about the Cardassian interior design aesthetic. We see a lot of DS9, obviously.
That's true.
The station, but it's a mining facility. So you got to wonder if the warships are similar or if they're
really
quite different.
Well, it's interesting because DS9's, we see one really good look into the past where we see the Weird Odo judging himself trial episode, and we see it during the occupation, and it is a mining stage, which implies it's going to be rudimentary. But there are zones. There's the internment camp zone, then everyone work zone as the opposite bit. So some areas are going to be trash because they're just whatever, and some are going to be nice. You live there. You don't want the Cardassians to be, you're not going to give the prison camp warden a prison room. So there is a good sense of what the higher end would be. But yeah, that's got a lot of detailing. You wouldn't want to make a ship like that for the show, because that'd be quite difficult. Well, they never did just show, or did they actually? Let me go look, because there's a scene in DS9 in the first episode where Odo goes aboard the Cardassian ship. Is that just DS9 corridor they reused? I feel like it would.
I would imagine so, but
because that's one of the times I can think.
With the first episode, it's hard to tell, because honestly, they could have built another set thinking they're going to use it more and just never got around to it.
Yeah,
and they had to redress it for other things.
Because we love ships, but also there's only so much room on the soundstage, and then obviously the main sets take up a lot of space, and then the runabout and the Defiant. So building a scope of a bridge, this is why all of the Federation bridges are built on the bones of other bridges that already had physical. That was where they were sat. They were readdressed, etc. Okay, let me look at that scene, because I bet it's got to be one of the corridors. Just we didn't know it at the point.
Yeah. Threefold Path throws in £5.
Thank you so much.
Show me beer. I absolutely loved the Vulcan ships in Enterprise. They were so different, but still had the recognizable parts. The circle warp drive was so cool. Oh, yeah, the ring drives. Yeah. Yeah, they definitely have their own unique look. That's for sure.
Huh. That is not a DS9 corridor. That is, if anything, that's looks like a Klingon corridor. It's very generic. It's nice enough. It's quite generic with this grill lighting on top that just makes it all depthy with all the different. So I guess that's quite Cardassian, but it's very, very plain. At least it's the right colour. And a very odd carpet. My God, I'm gonna send you a picture of the carpet. Like I fight for carpet, but this is Cardassian carpet in their warships. I just put on the live. What am I doing? What am I going to send to you?
I was going to say, put it on the live,
yeah,
so everybody can see it.
So I do believe.
Well, you got to wonder too, because the Cardassians, we did see a lot of the interiors of their buildings at the end of the series as well. Does that translate over? Because that's kind of different than DS9's look. So
I mean, would going to a building in Stockholm where people in a flat live,
look at the Federation
aircraft carrier?
We see a lot of Federation star bases and, on Earth, and they all kind of tie together, but are pretty distinct.
So yeah, there's the corridor and bloody interesting carpet. What the hell?
That looks like a carpet you'd find in a casino or something.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like, it's really textured. Okay. I mean, I would still probably say that is a Cardassian corridor. I would be like, yeah, okay, but it's very plain, very simple. But not a DS9 redress. Yeah, made a new one and then or convert it into the Klingon, you know.
Yeah. Tab Extra throws in 20 krona with no comment, but thank you. Much appreciated. And Patrick James throws in $5.
Thank you.
I know the Andorian ships are very simply designed, but I still love the look of them. Andorian ships from Enterprise? Yes. Yeah, they're very cool.
And it's definitely Lower Decks has been amazing, but a giant spanner in the works. We've seen Enterprise era ships from both races appear in Lower Decks.
Yeah.
Which is both tremendous because we always say if it's not broke, don't fix it. And certainly you can see a Vorcha lineage to a D4. But it is weird to imply that the same designs after 200 years or they haven't moved the needle much. I don't know. How do you feel about that? Because it's like the lineage is just here to here. It's like, oh, it's basically the same.
We see them a little too frequently for this to be the case, but they could just be older designs that have been since repurposed to be civilian, sold off, used for whatever. Yeah, that goes back to the whole "if it ain't broke, don't fix it" kind of argument. Where if you got a design that's fantastic, just keep using it. So, and the argument can be made that space frames would be able to. Well, actually, listened to a discussion on this like quite a while ago about wooden sailing ships and how much punishment they take from hitting the waves and docks and things like that. And then you think it'd be different for a starship, but it wouldn't because you're dealing with gravitational stresses, anomalies, different stellar phenomenon, radiation. A lot of things can impact the integrity of a hull and determine how long it can be in use.
Man, that's so tricky because like an Enterprise of any kind is going to be yes, all the above, but a cheeky Miranda on just ferrying people from A to B, political people A to B in Star Federation space, never going to be in a battle, never going to be around dangerous anomalies. The deflector shields are there to stop gravity problems. That's the entire purpose of being there. The passive stuff. Like those, like anything that's in the like Federation Center, these things aren't ever getting damaged. They're not ever having anything wrong happen to them. I mean, they should last. I mean, there's not even rust. There's nothing in space about being space rust. Like there's nothing happening to damage it.
Feel like micro stressing on the frame from like an out of alignment. One of the coils is out of alignment, causing some shearing. Like there's lots of things that could go.
But wouldn't you pick that up in theory when you go for your every 2-year repair checkup, your MOT, and they're like, oh, you got microfractures. Zzz. Like it was that small.
You'd think.
And if you know that's mostly what you're dealing with at that level of use, they wouldn't ignore the one thing that they all have. They would fix the one thing. If that's the only problem, I mean, microfractures are micro for a reason. They should be fixable for a reason, you'd think.
Yeah, but when microfractures add up and start multiplying, a lot of microfractures is a problem because that makes it all very brittle.
But then also, well, certainly, but also in like lower decks, we see plates be takeoffable. Is that just the outer hull? Is that the beams? I mean, can you not just cut out a chunk of the ship and
That's the outer hull. So we're talking space frame, like the bare bones of the thing. I don't know if you'd want to be slicing those out and like replacing parts.
But you want to throw away a ship because two girders have lots of microfractures, and that's wasteful.
No, you wouldn't. But
like, it's like
you also weaken. You stand a chance of weakening the frame. Like it's like model building. If you need to like repair something, sometimes it's better just make a whole new one than actually repair it, because it's just weaker at those repair points, no matter what you do to.
But then isn't the structural integrity field for that as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Like isn't just metal that's breaking down; it's being actively enhanced by energy fields to keep going.
Yes, except for when it fails.
But
you're in the orbit of a planet, and then it causes stress, and then you finally get it reactivated again. Sure, it might like pull things back into place if they moved, but then you've got the damage from the move and then the moving back. Anything like if you bend it a few times, it snaps, right?
Yeah, but that's the question of, is it worth using a year and a half of a space dock and putting 300 people in the construction duty to make a brand new Miranda class, or hoping that the 1 in a million chance of going around a planet's surface, the interior field going down, like you say, what you just alluded to, damaging it, 1 in a million chance, or building a new one. And then why would you build in Miranda? You just build a brand new ship, and then it's like, well, do build a Centaur or an Akira or a Norway? Now need specialist people, specialist equipment. You know, what's the point? At what point do you throw it away because it might go wrong at some point in an unknown thing? Or do you just assign the ship to simpler tasks? Now it's a ferrying ship, now it's a cargo ship.
Yes, that's what happens a lot of the time. Yeah.
It's never going to do anything interesting, but a 1 in a million destroyed ship is worth becoming a cargo ship with 10 crew for cargo missions, because you won't want to spend a year building a new ship that this thing can do another thing, or sell it. I mean, we've seen that as well to a member world, and then obviously it's their problem. Because a year of a space frame, I mean, that thing is a fully functional starship. Plug in new nacelles, make it faster, you know, and then the Andorian consortium might say, let's replace 3 girders. Let's put concrete in the middle. Just molten what's it made of? The main ship? Not deuterium. It's the main hull is. We know it. We do.
I do know it. I've written it many times in scripts. Anyway, yes, it's made of something.
You know what I mean? Maybe just put padding on the walls.
Is it duranium? No.
There is duranium, but I don't know if that's the main one.
No, anyway.
It's like we have such a throwaway culture. You know, your washing machine, you know, one of the legs doesn't work, or your LED's corner's broken. Fuck it, replace it, buy a new one. It's like, but everything else works. Like a £40 replacement part or 300 new one. But the 300 new one will last 3 years. Yes, but you're throwing away mostly a working one for a small repair. For maybe it'll break in a few years. It's an odd.
That's the new way of doing things. Planned obsolescence.
Yeah.
They build them cheaper and then make the parts more expensive to replace, so that you just buy a new one.
Yeah.
It's better profit margin for them. And if you do want to spend the money to get the part, they're making huge profit because they've ramped up the price on it so much.
Yeah.
So.
But you get cheap the first time.
Yeah. Well, cheaper. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Melonius 5 throws in $5.
Thank you.
Vulcan interior design is pretty well developed and elegant, but they haven't shown much of their ships except in lower decks. Weidouge, which was nice. That's the other thing that's great about lower decks is because it's animated, you can see those interior sets that would be expensive to build.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yep, 100%. That's kind of the gold standard of we can just draw, animate. Yeah, lovely.
And Patrick James throws in $20. That is an awesome super chat.
Boom.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I thought I would throw in some money to celebrate my successful kitchen sink repair.
Oh.
I did not flood our house. Needed a Star Trek engineer or a Star Trek design kitchen.
Oh.
Well, congratulations on the successful plumbing job.
Yeah, it's amazing how the simple things are like, aha, like, wow, I did so much laundry. The achievement you feel sometimes. Congratulations. Amazing.
Yeah. That raises another question, though, that whole discussion, because it becomes, do you refit to refit or not to refit? How expensive is it to strip something down to its
as in
space
material
frame?
expensive for the audience, like material and time,
not
money.
Well, and manpower, just time and effort. To strip something down like the Enterprise to its space frame, rejigger a few things, add new hull texturing, add all new interiors, not new computer systems necessarily, because in Search for Spock you can still see the old Constitution class. They didn't upgrade the software.
They just
I guess
put new USB in. So update some stuff.
But you gotta wonder what goes into a refit. I would really love to see what was involved in that refit, not just aesthetically, but like the guts. And then compare that to the cost of just a new build. Like, well, is it worth it to refit in most cases?
Well, and you kind of use the argument that the most material expensive and hard to find is the outer shell, which would be like a TNG refit argument. You know, Miranda, swap out some interiors, warp nacelles, boom, you got a new ship. If the exterior is the hard bit to get, because armor, that makes sense. But then the Enterprise refit, as you say, they're doing both. All that's left is the girders.
Yeah.
That's not a lot. Now, I don't know if this is actually any real information about this, because there's not that much time between. Was it implied anywhere to your knowledge that the Enterprise refit was actually the first in that design language? Like, it was a test bed, so maybe the refit itself, they were kind of building, designing, retrofitting, and then they took that as a blueprint for every ship to come. Was that in the...
That's exactly what happened. Yeah. That was mentioned, I think, in the motion picture novel, actually. Novelization of the movie. And I think a lot of other books as well. Yeah.
Because that would explain why they would spend the time to entirely rebuild a ship rather than build a ship, because they don't know what they're going to keep and throw away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, there's only one Connie left. They're not refitting any Connies. There's one. Everything else got destroyed. And then we don't know for a fact, like Miranda's. There's never been a canon TOS Miranda, so we don't know if they're refitted. Maybe no ships got refitted. Maybe everything's a fresh build.
Well, that was the beta canon for a long time. The Enterprise got refitted. It was such an extensive refit that all the Constitution classes that came after it were actually called Enterprise class. That was kind of a thing for a while because it was such an extensive overhaul. It was a new ship. So they designed all the new ones based on that blueprint, and it became the Enterprise class. That was quickly done away with when TNG showed up. But I kind of like that thinking, honestly. But
because you think back, TOS is similar, obviously, but just take TMP for a second. Let's say that, yes, the Enterprise refit, it was a longer process, it was a full breakdown, rebuild, fresh. Well, once they approved the design elements, maybe they said, Planitia, mass produce 300 nacelles. And then it speeds up production of a new Miranda, a new Saladin variant, because you already have the stock components. The source is mostly the same, so Miranda might just be a Connie source that they've then taken halfway through and changed. So, because obviously if the refit is the first one, they're not going to be building anything else really at the same time. So that means between TMP and Wrath of Khan, the Reliant is built and launched. The Oberth is probably out, but like the ships all had to be built and launched in that time for that theory to make sense. What do you think? That's quite a radical idea, I think.
that's the thing. Once you start mass producing parts, you can reconfigure them in whatever way you like. Instead of different nacelles for each class of ship, just throw the same nacelles on every class of ship. That's why Andrew Probert thinks that the nacelles on the Miranda class should be upside down, because they have the feeds going in the same way as the Enterprise. I disagree with that logic. That's easy enough to change something like that.
Well, to double down on that, though, it looks to be a minimum of 10 years between TMP and Wrath of Khan. And if you've got, let's say, 30 shipyards making ships, which are all now using stock components, Planitia, I think there's 2 other shipyards, you could produce, 60, 80 ships in that time.
I would imagine, yeah. I think it's only 6 or 8 years between Motion Picture and Wrath of Khan, something like that.
It's the 70s. They never gave a direct year, so it's debatable. But would that be weird then if the Reliant only lasted like 6 years?
And before it got destroyed?
Yeah.
Wouldn't be weird at all, I don't think.
Okay.
It's kind of a shitty turnaround time for that ship, but shit happens,
Genesis happens.
Yeah. We got Utopia Planitia. There's the Io shipyards and Jupiter.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is one other one in the solar system.
There's also further.
I thought it was Luna. I thought it was a moon-based one, but you think you'd see more stuff around the moon if that was the case.
Because I just like the idea that if they dedicate half of Planitia to building the cells, impulse crystals, like the stock components, that would surely radically speed up production for everything. I mean, they're the same torpedo tubes, the same blinkies, the same bridge domes, a lot of them. If you're doing that much recycling, you might be able to throw together a Reliant in like 6 months, in 4 months. Honestly, all the pieces are there.
Yeah. yeah,
Hmm.
mass production. Like, I don't know what the turnaround time would be in those builds, but
So it's 3 years for Galaxy, but that's a really, really big, dense thing, and everything's. I don't think they have like 50 Dina cells to ready in the buffet. They're probably made somewhat to order. A few spare, but
yeah,
because there's a lot less recycled parts. But that era is so synonymous with that. Because if you imagine that TOS had obviously a similar vibe, but we didn't get much to see of it. If the Klingons are providing more of a problem, they said, how do we make a fleet in a half the time? Shared components. Manufacture, mass produce the hell out of it, and that's why everything looks the same, because they needed to triple their armada, or
yeah.
double it, in like 10 years. That's interesting. I never thought that before.
How do we get on this topic? We're talking about which ship
I don't
they
know.
fit in. Oh, I think the Romulans go into the Valdor.
Maybe.
Anyway, that's the topic at hand.
Yes.
Let's see here.
Yes.
Tab Extra puts in 50 Krona, so thank you so
Thank you
much.
again.
What design makes the
Ooh.
most sense? What about the Vulcan troop transport from TNG?
Yeah.
Paid tribute to the Romulan and Vulcan before Star Trek Enterprise. Vulcan troop transport from Unification
Yes.
was looked almost part Ferengi, honestly, with the design.
But it did have a ring warp nacelle, warp engine. Clearly John went back to look at that
Yeah.
and was like, oh, that's our inspiration here. That wouldn't be accident. Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's also supposed to be an older design, like much older design. So
Yeah. But it's the only example of that sort of,
yeah,
that sort of era. Because we've talked about this before, once the Federation exists and everyone has these access to these shipyards, Vulcans are going to not produce their ships in the same way. So you're not necessarily going to see new Vulcan ship designs, because the best Vulcan ship designers might be snatched up by the Federation, by Starfleet. And then they're going to help make the Centaur, whatever.
yeah.
There's a lot less of those originalities versus Klingons, etc. Okay, so back on these then. What are them Vorcha compared to Galore? That styling, because again, both synonymous with the eras and with design style. Which is most interesting design, and why or why not?
I would say the Vorcha. I just like the aggressive stance it has, kind of like the cells being down, especially from the front. The Cardassian one from the front looks a little bit, honestly. Top and side looks quite impressive, but something looks a little more aggressive with the Klingons. Like if you had turned the Cardassian one around, so the pincers are at the front, but first of all, it would look too much like the Vorcha. But it would feel more aggressive. That's a good question.
I somewhat disagree, just because the way the flatness of the back of the impulse deck, you're then using the mind sees the air resistance. You'd be trying against
More
that.
resistance in space.
I know, but your brain sees that, whereas this, it's all curved shapes. It feels as if it's designed to go that way.
Yeah.
Although if you reverse, it's just the Destiny from Stargate.
Yeah, I was just thinking that actually. I thought as you were saying it, I'm like, wait a minute, that's.
But that's also actually hasn't got a gradient in it. It's really subtle, but it does alleviate that design philosophy. See, I'm torn, because I'm looking at the two design philosophies, and the Vorcha is far more on the same level. It's far more two-dimensional. Yes, you have the pods, but the Galore feels like it has more of a pieces have a greater sense of variety to me personally. And but I do like the Vorchas and the cells, obviously, but I don't know, the Galore, there's more individual pieces, I think, of the Galore than the Vorcha.
It's got a stepped up approach from the back, like it's bulkier as it goes forward, which kind of is aggressive in its own right. Where the Klingon, like you said, is two dimensional. It's got a little pod popped on there, and then at the back as well.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice to see a modernized Vorcha, because this was a miniature, and the miniature, if you look at it, was just filled to the brim or covered to the brim with tiny plate greeblies. That's it, right? And then the CG people did the same thing. And all the fan replicas do the same thing. There's never been like a, you know, how would it look? Like a bird of prey. Like it's got piping. It's got all these intricate little details. Vulture, raised plating. You know.
More of a color variance too on the Vorcha, with the red and the green.
Yes, but I feel like there's more variance with it in the primary color because I know the Galore, like there's lots of variants of orange.
There is.
Versus
yes.
the Vorcha is green and then bits of red. They stand out more, but it's a lot more unified. Like all of the neck is one piece in the Vorcha, but I know that Galore has a lot of variety in its hull color.
Have extra. Yeah, we just said that about the Destiny from Stargate.
It's a tricky one because they're so different yet they go for different things. Now, if you then said like a Katinga to a Galore, the shapes are more distinct overall, I would say, because the neck integrates really well with the pincers of the Vorcha, so it blends almost too much. Whereas the Katinga, it's actually all multiple layered. It kind of has a, yes, the middle bit might be too thin, but it has more of a dimensional feel.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Vorcha is just like the stylization and the advancement of the design of a Katinga, essentially. Just kind of smoothing it out, making it more advanced.
And stockier. I mean, that you can. It looks like it can take some hits. The Katinga never quite looked like it could take hits.
And you look at the Negvar compared to the Vorcha, it's like, that's a beast. You know?
That's it, yeah.
So.
Yeah, they've got plates for days. But then obviously you go Romulan, and you've got the one hyper distinct ship. It's so breaking the mold that the mold was broken. That's the entire point of the ship. Then you've got the more familiar shapes of everything else, which, you know, the scout ship is sort of just wings in a box. But it's logical, but it's not. Is it visually interesting? I don't know.
Wayne Alex says really should have done a slideshow.
Yeah, ran out of time today.
We could pull up pictures of ships, but we didn't have that really sorted.
Yeah, I ran out of time today.
And we do that all the time with our Saturday. We compare ships like that side by side. So,
besides, you guys know what the ships are like. You guys are smart.
Hopefully. Sometimes even my memory is like you say ship name, I like think for a second.
And obviously, you have the advantage of you have the miniature of it. You fucking know it. If I have the CG, I freaking know it. So we've got a slightly different subset of things that we know really well.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can grab a render of the Romulan shuttle, because that was an interesting break the mold one.
And Robert, I can't because that never came through. I never did see that email. So.
Okay, it's not in that folder. That's worrying.
Just thinking about the Dominion battle cruiser now compared to like Negvar. I like the Dominion battle cruiser design. I think it's a cool design. A little bit oversized, but
let's hold that. Let's do the shuttle first, and then we can jump on I can bring those pictures up, because this is quite an interesting. Oh, actually, I can get all the graphics. There's a Drex Files, or X Scientifica.
By the way, guys, hit like. We're just 4 away from 75 likes. Let's try to get to 75. We could probably do 80. Hit like if you haven't hit like. Keep the super chats coming. We're almost at halfway for our minimum. So another $20 will get us to our halfway mark. So if anybody wants to super chat in, get us to the halfway mark. We'd really appreciate it. But
we would.
Yeah.
So this shuttle, I think, does it. I think it both breaks the Romulan mold at the same time. Respects it so well.
Yeah.
Like, does that add a hugely interesting bonus design into the mix with the Romulans versus the more simplistic earlier ones?
Well, this is a great design. First of all, it maintains that idea of the Daredecks with the arch on the nacelles, but it's on a much smaller scale. So much so that those things along the spine, which I would like to believe are escape pods on the Daredecks, are clearly not on this because it's so small.
Yep.
What are you asking specifically though? Like,
well, because there's a Daredex, there's the 2 Birds of Prey, there's a Valdor, and there's the 2 Scout Ship variants. This is different to all of those. Does adding this into the mix create there is a bit more to the design language of Romulans that might bring it higher on the list, because it is a different design that's actually been more designed. And the reason I say that is because, like you said, it's so small that its minutiae has been designed. It feels more detailed because it's obviously right there in front of camera. The Daredex can get away with just, here is a plate, good. This feels more, full, etc. Or is it really such a hybrid of elements that it actually feels so faithful it's actually not adding anything to the design language? It's too appropriate.
As I was kind of saying with the first thing I said, it kind of pulls in a lot of aspects of the Daredex. The head of the ship from the side, the profile view is very similar. Like I said, the 2 support things for the nacelles. That's a tricky question, man.
So it's funny because I look at the top, I don't see any of the Daredex at all. The top, the side,
except for the spine.
But we know that as a detail. I just mean like silhouette detailing.
Oh yeah.
Because we know that, but average people won't.
Yeah.
The side, the head is definitely there, and the nacelles are actually there, but they're so well integrated you don't necessarily see them. But the front, yeah, it's the Daredex front. So I just keep seeing this the top though, and that shape is so like itself. But then you break it down, and it's filled with these familiar elements. That's
the thing though. If you extend those nacelles out a bit, that shape from the top would be very similar to a Daredex after a while. Depending on how far you pull those nacelles out and have to change the attachments, the attaching points, I think it would look very similar to Daredex.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Although Dan briefly re-comments when I said, well, a Delta Flyer has an escape pod, and that was small.
Okay. I have no problem with having an escape pod, but see those gold things along the spine of that ship? The Daredex has them, and to scale, they're much bigger. And it makes sense that their escape pods where they're placed, just launch out. This is the same visual thing, but they're scaled down quite substantially, so there's no way they'd be escape pods. I have no problem with this thing having an escape pod, just it's not those individual things, because the ship only... Look at the size of the door on the side. You know how big this ship is, so that's what I was saying.
And also, I'm pretty sure it's been commonly sort of debunked, as it were, that the Delta Flyer escape pods don't fit in the ship.
No.
So neither
the interior doesn't fit in the ship.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
but neither does the impulse pods. They take up so much of the volume that you can't keep throwing stuff into the inside that pops out to the outside. It breaks the flow of the ship. So it has them, they don't fit. So meh.
And Tab Extra throws in 50 krona. Which looks like a Klingon ship, meaning business.
That it does.
Yeah, those forky things on the front, kind of poking at you. Yeah.
So let's get the Dominion art design up, like you said, because that's another. Because they're fun because each ship is a different role, very specifically. Oh, is that gonna? Oh, that's not gonna let me do that. Okay, hold on. Let me just. Yeah, each ship has a different role, so you can't necessarily compare them in a good way because they're.
And we hit 82 likes thanks to you guys.
Excellent.
Which is awesome. Now we're going for 100. So hit the like button if you haven't. Don't forget about the poll. We have 146 votes.
Ooh.
Like another 4 votes to get to 150, perhaps.
We'll
vote on the poll.
Yes.
Ozzy says, "How big is it, guys?" That's a shuttlecraft, essentially.
It's a runabout size. It's a special. It's designed for privileged people to travel. So it's a.
I was going to say it's a little shorter than a runabout, I think, or is it roughly the same?
Well, if it's in the same bay, I'm assuming it was probably built to be the same size.
Yeah.
So here are the 3 cannon Dominion ships: battleship, cruiser, and bug. Not battle cruiser because there's already a cruiser. It's battleship. That gets misunderstood all the damn time. Don't worry if you think the other way around. Now, one thing to note, and this is a kind of important, it's actually a 4th ship that I don't have because it was only seen a little bit. This is the 2nd version of the Dominion cruiser. By that I mean they built a miniature of one the first few times we see it. They then built a terrible 3D model of it for the quick shot at the wormhole, and they designed this whole different one to be the actual cruiser. But because it's barely used and an SD, no one really noticed this is used the rest of them. So there is there's the original cruiser variant, which is different, similar but different. But this is the standard one, as you would expect from the show.
Well, the design language here just flows. Like, it almost seems like a life cycle of a bug. You got the bug ship, which is the just recently hatched larvae.
Yeah,
it gets bigger, and as it gets bigger, it gets stockier. But it maintains like the nacelles on the side. They just they grow out a little bit, and it's got a very organic feel to it.
But would you say the lava's great? If you had that implication, that fits perfect. Does the bug ship link to the other 2 designs at all? Somewhat. What do you mean then? What are you thinking?
Well, like I said, I already kind of explained it. It's like a young version. As it gets older, those nacelles get pushed out. So it does link in certain ways. At first glance, I would say no, but seeing them side by side like that, like I can see a design lineage of sorts.
Yeah, the nacelles and pylons all have a similar flow.
Yeah, and the color for sure is unified.
Yeah.
Always is.
But certainly the cruiser and the battleship are fundamentally wonderful in their iterative, non-iterative thing. I like how the battleship is clearly just, besides the obvious, we're going to make the middle giant and stocky because we have like 10,000 people aboard. The cruiser's a warship. Battleship is we've got giant guns and tens of thousands of people aboard. You die now. I mean, you can see the window scale is insanity. There's like 100.
And even me, like, in my mind, when I think of these ships, I always confuse the 2 at the top. I always think of the one on the right there as kind of like the bigger version as well, but they're quite different. We only saw the bigger one like
twice,
right?
Yep.
Twice, yeah.
Yep. That's its big problem. But it's highlighted heavily in those 2 times. Well, the one time and the cameo. That's why I liked putting it in my fan film, because you've never seen that many on screen, nor in context in the fleet. So it was really fun to throw like 5 battleships, be like, yeah, this is a fleet, because one of these is a fleet killer. That's kind of the whole point, I think, when the Dominion designed and built these. It's like, we want a single-handed fleet killer. Like that's it,
Yeah. Jasper Jedi though, $5. Do you think Romulans and Vulcan ships both have smooth curves to denote shared history? A bit of a stretch. And comparing them side by side, I can't really see any. I'd say might be implied, but it's not.
Dan, no, it's not. It's way bigger. They were wrong. I hate that. I hate that because it can't be. Literally impossible to do this episode if it was that size. Always pisses me off. It's like 5 to 6 times the length. I know it for a fact. Yeah, see, the problem with Vulcans and Romans, anything being linked, apart from their ears and their haircuts sometimes, is that obviously proto-Vulcans in some sort of ship, we don't know what it looks like, those ships left, use those ships to make buildings and jumpstart their society, because you wouldn't keep them all in orbit. You'd use the stuff to build a society and then build ships when you could. They would then have developed. They wouldn't rush to space again because they just got safe. they might spend 50, 80, 100 years on the planet just doing their own thing. But at that point, new generations of designers have come about. They're not thinking, let's base our ships on our old Vulcan overlords that we hated. I can imagine them doing entirely new designs. I would actually almost think the opposite. If I was kind of going, based on how they split originally, it was so... It's like, if we ever saw Baku ships, they wouldn't like sonar ships. Because you'd be like, they designed really radically different designs because they don't want to feel like their parents. Would be my vote.
Yeah, well, I mean, in FASA, they kind of fleshed that out as well. Although, not FASA. Maybe FASA and Starfleet Battles, but they left Vulcan. They didn't have a lot of technology, and they basically either stole some technology or traded for some technology. That's why in TOS, it didn't have warp drive. That was the original theory for TOS, because they still weren't advanced enough. But because of the development of the plasma torpedo, they got enough firepower that they started to actually steal some technology from neighboring systems and stuff. So anyway, and I can totally buy that. I mean, you're leaving your home. It's like moving out of your house with what you can carry in a backpack and starting from scratch somewhere else. It'll take you a while to get up to the same level. So yeah, that's kind of the story of the Romulans. It was a tough build. That's why they're also so warlike, because they needed to be to advance. So.
You also can't really build an empire with just one planet. That's sort of the definition of an empire, is a span of, in galactic terms. So they were just people trying to get resources, I'm guessing, for a long time. Then
that's why there's Romulus and Remus, the twin planets. They actually got a good deal on that. And then the Remans, they were like their slave labor because they were less advanced. So
or they were mutated Vulcans, depending which way you go with that.
Yeah,
both are right. Haha.
Yeah.
It takes a while.
Schroeder's Romulans.
Yeah. Yeah. And also Trekyards asks, are there different sizes of bug ships? No, actually, very consistent. Very, very consistent. But I think
they're small. They're smaller than a Fire, aren't they?
Yes. I mean, they're pretty damn comparable. Like, pretty... But the Defiant's tiny, so... they kept it pretty consistent. But I mean, I think these three... This is when they benefited from... Started miniature, but the end of the miniatures. And also... I mean, the first time we see the bug ships... They obviously knew this was going to be our new villain. And they're small ships with better, higher detail miniatures. And, I mean, the miniature's really rather good for the original. It's very nice. So... They started strong with a design language, and then you kept going from that. And Jim Martin did a great job. I think this is one of the most cohesive three. I would like to see in-between steps, because there is a bug to cruiser lineage gap, but functionally they're radically different. I'd love to see like a light cruiser, which maybe has more of those bug back elements still, and then a cruiser battleship variant, or like a fast cruiser. Again, a larger cruiser with more bug impulse things. Because none of these ships are fast or maneuverable except the bug ship. So I'd love to see more iterations in between these two, or between these three.
Yeah, you'd think the recargo ship, fast patrol ship, frigate,
But then they do say that the bug ship does kind of everything. It is a fast response ship. It is a far warp ship. It is a very heavily armed. It can kamikaze. It's the all-in-one kind of ship,
Yeah, and they travel in packs. So
yeah, which means you can mass produce 500, and you send out 10, you lose 3.
Don't care. Cut more in the bag.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Dominion designs. Actually, I wish we would have seen more of the larger ships.
Yeah.
To be fair, but
let's look at some Klingon variations then.
Ooh.
I'll see.
King Kongs. Speaking of, we have 159 votes on our poll.
Oh, fantastic.
So I'll close that out while you're doing that.
Please do.
Who is the best ship design? Who has the best ship designs overall?
Ooh.
The winner is the Romulans.
Oh.
44%.
Okay.
Second place, the Klingons at 41%.
Oh, wow.
Which is close. Then the Borg at 9%, and the Cardassians come in last at 6%.
And that's a bad last as well. Wow.
Yeah, behind geometric shapes. Good job. Good job, Cardassians.
No, geometric shapes and paperclips. Sure. Thank you. We know that reference.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna end that poll, but that was 161 votes, so that was good.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We are 5 likes away from 100 likes. So hit that like
Ooh,
button if you're just joining us. We have
yep.
92 people here, which is
It
amazing.
is.
And we're just at the halfway point for our super chats. So keep the super chats flowing. We're like $2 away from our halfway point. So
Yes.
anybody want to get us to the halfway mark?
If you love Dune, then let
Ugh.
the super chats flow. But you've got to support my message there, Stuart, because super chats.
Dune's awesome.
Yes. Yes.
Good guy.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
You got to think too. These fleets progress through the years, obviously. So each era has its own fleet
Mm-hmm.
aesthetic, which changes and adapts and becomes the next generation of ships. But they could pretty much all be looked at separately. But yeah, we're not going to be doing all that today. We've done a lot of videos like that over the years, talking about design lineage from early days to the later. So
Never really live though, which is why I thought it'd be fun to kind of make it more of an open discussion.
yeah, it'd be fun to focus on like just the Klingons for one live and go through the ships chronologically and kind of have a discussion.
Put those damn Discovery Klingons in, yay!
Oh,
Christ.
somebody early on in the chat said that the Discovery Klingon ships were the best designs.
And you booted them from the chat. Good, good.
No, I considered doing it as a joke, but I don't know if it goes back that far now. Shit doesn't.
So yeah, this is this sort of rough time evolution scale, obviously. And I wanted to pick one variant of each format. Although I guess I should probably go Negvar then rather than Vorcha, I suppose. It makes slightly more go radical.
Yeah, bring in the Negvar.
A cheeky little Negvar. It's easy to do this when I'm live because I ran out of time today. So yeah, so that's pretty much, except the little warship scout thing for Enterprise. It's kind of the 4 varieties of ships, I guess, in the Empire, as in class variants.
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything about the bird of prey because it looks distinctly Klingon here. I'm not going to get into that argument yet again. So,
although it's funny how we have 4 radically different greens.
Yeah. Well, the green helps with the cloaking, if I recall correctly.
It's special paint, yeah.
Yeah.
But to note, these are all different modelers, they're all different eras. That you could unify them slightly. But just for reference, guys, on the top left is the Enterprise Raptor, which is the rarely seen sort of new class, which is why I'm including it. Of course, the Rob Von Schoon created a model of the Katinga on the top right. Very, very nice model. He's very proud of it. Bottom left, the classic bird of prey used from, of course, Star Trek 3 into eternity, because it's still in Prodigy and Lower Decks, like it's still being used. And, of course, Negvar from Voyager, and Start DS9 ends in Voyager.
And you can see similarities between them all. They all have the long neck. They all have the kind of angled somewhat. Depends on which way you're looking at them, but the nacelles out. They kind of do a thing. They don't just go straight out ever. They go up or down, except for the neck. I'll shut up now. But you know what I mean? They all have aggressive looking stances, I think.
Because we've seen in the other review, we saw the Romulan, we saw the Dominion, we saw the Cardassian. Yeah, the fact they all have necks, heads, and forward-facing feeling point tips, really, the nacelles, the idea of the edge of it. They all 4 share that lineage pretty fully. And obviously all have wings as well. But, pretty cohesive.
What was I going to say? I had something, but I just lost it. Damn it.
Sorry.
That's okay. Not your fault.
But I think that, while I don't love the look particularly of the Raptor, I love the concept of it. It's only a fresh, brand new, yet familiar design is very difficult. And so just by sort of flipping a few things, because if you remember from our episode on it, it has got the thin neck. It's just also got 2 large piping structures either side, which kind of extend the feel of it, but not actually part of the neck. So it would also have a thin neck if those are removed.
Yeah, they're more support structures.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like the old Russian ships with the guide wires and stuff. Yeah. Which all you can see that, and I love the way that John did that actually, because eventually we just pull those into internal, structural elements.
Oh yeah,
and
like
get them.
on the Bird of Prey.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah. So that works out very well. I don't know. The Klingons have quite a unique look to them. Like I think Matt Jeffries, when he did the D7, really, that was a fantastic looking ship back then. And since everything's based on that, I just love that in TOS, like the three main ones, the Romulans, the Klingons, and the Federation, I can't say we're quite distinct. However, the Romulans do share a lot of that original Romulan warbird or bird of prey definitely feels almost Federation-like in a lot of its elements, like its nacelles and it's almost saucer-like main body. But I think they're distinct enough. The nacelles are different enough as well, although maybe not at first glance. Yeah, and I also love how the bird of prey, somebody brought this up on one of my lives. Where are the nacelles on it? Well, they're built into those wings. And the nacelle is not always a nacelle, as Rick Sternbach says. If you look at the technical manual for that thing, there's inner workings and plasma stuff and the warp elements inside the wings themselves. So, and that's quite unique for that ship, because most ships in Trek have the nacelles that are quite visibly nacelles. So that's kind of like the outlier as far as that kind of technology goes. But
yeah, new poll, Stuart. New poll.
Oh, we got a new poll. Let's go read the poll. Are Klingon designs too similar in vibe, or the right amount of shared design lineage? Yes, too similar, or nope, perfect to share design vibes. Go vote.
Yeah. I mean, I think that should be an easy answer, honestly, because they're all so different, but they're also shared language. That, I think, the Klingons have always had the most time, effort, and thought put in, and this is what comes out of that. Radically different designs, radically similar designs, and the fact that both can be true at the same time is impressive as all hell.
Visually, you know what fleet you're looking at, even from a distance. Those silhouettes.
Now then, question. Refers back to a minute ago. If you were remastering TOS with new effects, would you redo the Romulan Bird of Prey as green and the Klingon D7 as their version of green, like the more light, colourful green and the more dark, harsh green? Would you do that as a remaster to kind of simplify the eras?
No, I would probably do the TOS Romulan as a little bit of a light gray with an ad attached to it. With like a green tint to the.
Well, why hire CBS, Stuart? You did it right there. Good job. An ad attached. Wow. Sorry. Continue, crazy man.
I would probably go with a more gray color, but a light gray. Well, the D7's a light gray though in that era.
Because they're both just gray, just different shades of gray. There is no color to either of them.
That's what I mean. Like, I would go with some kind of gray color, but it would have a green tinge to it. Yes, the original Enterprise model does have a bit of a green tinge in its gray, but I would make it more obvious in the Klingon or the Romulan one, but still not look green. It would have a hue to it that would feel a little bit different because it's just white. It's the same as a Federation hull.
Yeah.
I think they made it gray in the remastered though.
Yeah, it is. It's just weird that all three main powers in that era have no colour in their hulls, and they all almost the same colour palette. It's weird.
Yeah, it's almost like they had a sale on paint, and they just painted them all the same.
Yeah. Maybe the Zindies, that was their trade for getting back into the galaxy. We'll give you 80 billion tons of grey anti-sphere builder paint. No, anti-trillium D paint, Stuart. There you go. 80 billion tons. Jesus. I don't know what I would do. My canon brain would be so pissed off by my logical brain.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's the problem. Because it would always feel inappropriate, but it would also help so much the era evolution. So much.
And you couldn't go to the green they used in Enterprise, which was the precursor to this ship, TOS, because that's just 2 green. That's the TNG green.
But what wasn't? Wait, didn't they make a green D7 in Trials and Tribulations? Because that had a really great hybrid of paint plates.
I think it was gray with some green aspects to it. Yeah.
Because they've already done it in theory. No, it was green. It was a green ship.
Well, actually, hold on one second.
Because that I remember being extremely like Bosch. It works. Like it vibed green.
And that.
But not like bright green, like basic green.
So this is actually the color of it. This is gray.
Yeah.
And it's like a greenish blue color.
And it was color graded away.
Yeah, because we've talked to Rob Bonchun about this, because this is one of his favorite ships. And he knows the paint scheme. The top here is gray. The rest, the neck, this, and the bottom is all like this bluish, kind of bluish-greenish color. So
I don't know why they'd paint it that way. It doesn't look very cohesive, in my opinion.
Well, they painted it that way because it's a predator. It's like a shark. It's gray on top, lighter on. It works in the sea. It doesn't really work in space, but that's the logic behind the paint job. It's much like a shark. So, but yeah, I wouldn't want to mess with the colors too much, and that's the problem. Because you want to maintain that. I mean, what did they do for Strange New Worlds with the new Bird of Prey?
Strange New Worlds?
And the new Balance of Terror. They went with the Picard gray.
That was just the Picard ship, yeah. Oh, yeah, I don't remember what colour that was.
I think it was just darker gray.
It was it was a grey with very notable green lighting, like the windows, which kind of gave it that grey, green. But no, that was grey, yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably go something like that. I think they did a good job at that, actually.
Because we've tried to do in one of the fan films we haven't started it yet because it's in other teams, but they had me do a new Romulan D7 variant, which is really fun, and they were very insistent of it staying grey, but I fought to, can we please add green plating to differentiate, and we had to go a little bit back and forth of how much green to not green, because it can look very unintentional, but the plating kind of works. It becomes kind of two-tone, like in this picture, the Vorcher's the red tone of the plating, so that mostly worked. I haven't seen it in motion properly yet, so I'll reserve judgment when we will see it.
Gorgonzola says, I actually got a Blue Bricks ad. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But Matt Boardman says, I did the ships of the line image for the Enterprise incident. He goes on to say, where is it here? I added a little more green to parts of the Romulan D7s. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, recoloring stuff when you're trying to remake something is tough. It's a tough decision to do.
Because, I mean, would it... Well, I mean, like I said, Transformations is a great sort of greeny, dark grey version, and no one really bat an eyelid. It's a very nice visual update. But would you be... If they were to re-release TOS in 4K, if suddenly the D7 was replaced by a Katinga, how would you feel? No explanation. It's still a D7, but now it's just a Katinga 3D model.
I'd be annoyed.
Okay.
Very annoyed. See, they had a good balance with the Trials and Tribulations because it looked smooth, but it had some texturing like the Katinga, just not quite as noticeable or as raised, which I like. I like the way they did that. And I love how you say it in 4K. So it's 4K now, so now you can see the details. Before it was just kind of. Yeah, I'd be annoyed if they just used a straight up Katinga model.
But as retcons go, is that dramatic that D7 and Katinga it was just new internals? You're retconning out the old externals because it's basically the same design, just one's detailed, one is wood. Like, okay, give me a percentage of you would accept it versus pissed off.
Oh, Jesus.
Like, you weren't given Constellation, boom. Season 1, there's the first D7. It is just a green Katinga versus a beautiful Enterprise, not changed at all. Boom, there's an new D7. That's how it should have looked. They just couldn't afford it.
I hate that argument. That's what they would have done if they could afford it. I think I'd be a good 65 to 70% pissed off, honestly. I just like to think that, as with the Enterprise moving from TOS to the motion picture, I like that the D7s changed or refitted into the Katingas, which is weird because the Katingas are actually smaller than the D7, slightly. So like they took off all the plating of a D7. There you go. There's your new ship. All the detail on the Katinga, that's just the attachment points for the plating for the D7. Those are just the magnetic couplers. Yeah, I'd be annoyed by that personally. But as I just said, when the Trials and Tribulations, adding a little bit of detail, that for close-up shots you can see there's some texturing on the D7. I don't have a problem with that because I think they did that. That was a nice mix of just getting that formula right to have it updated and look better in higher resolution, but not look so different as to be a Katinga. Does that make sense? And not have as much plating. Have some plating, but not all like the Katinga does.
Oh, this is Jericho. Ban him. Ban him now.
Wow. This is Jericho.
What does he say, Stuart? Name and shame. I've named, you can shame.
This is Jericho. They would just use the Strange New Worlds design if they did it in 4K. Yeah, because higher resolution always makes things that are supposed to be straight be angled. Yeah. Perfect.
And it's funny because the texture in those ships aren't very good even. Like, they're not industry standard. Like, Lost in Space, you throw that as 8K, it would still look nice. You know, grimy, dirty, you can see the text, literally see the texture lines. No, they're not very well done. There's a lot more care and attention put in earlier. No, sir. Yeah, I think I'd be, for the most part, pissed off too, because I really, really keep true and core to design evolution. It's so important to me. If you, like with Enterprise, we all ignore the Katinga included because it just ruins the entire evolution of ship design. Having to go from armor can be internal and smooth in Cold War to the Cold War's ramping up. We're going to make a ship with a lot more armor, hence the plating. And it's just a beefed up version, but it needs so much additional oomph to it that it feels different. Like, those two statements are fun. The active arm up of a ship is an interesting concept. You're making both a Katinga. I guess they just changed the internal guns. Wow, great.
Yeah. Well, we did a great video with Rob Bonchun actually comparing the D7 to the Katinga and talking about the differences. So go check that. I think it's a two-parter actually.
Probably.
Patrick James though throws in $10, so thank you. I know it is impossible as everyone has a different perspective, but which alien race has the best looking individual vessel? Which would you want based on looks? Or alien race? There's more than what's here too on this thumbnail.
Yes, but these are the sort of default iconic ones.
Honestly, I'd probably go with one of the larger Dominion ships. I really like the way these look. Yeah.
If I had to pick a singular, it'd be Klingon Bird of Prey or Romulan Deredex. Both have so much character beyond their simplicity, and I've worked plenty of them both in 3D. It's always a charming day when I get to work with Deredexes. They light nicely, they look great, they have such oomph. Always nice.
And they're menacing too.
Yeah. And the scale's fun because they are actually quite maneuverable. If you watch TNG, they're overly maneuverable for their size. So you get away with some sweeping motions that even the D would feel odd to do for the most part. I also like, with the later versions I do of the ship, I quite enjoy putting that backlight on. Like it's this light. It's a whole other layer just for a light. Oh, it's there.
It's like the interior light of a car.
Yeah, it really is. But your brain notices the extra detail, so I quite like doing that. I don't know.
TXR Way throws in £5.
Thank you.
Hi, chaps. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well.
Brilliant.
I love Trek ship designs when they follow a recognizable design style. The Klingon ships pre-discovery, did this perfectly.
Yes.
The Discovery Klingon ship designs are elegant, beautiful ships. Don't get me wrong; they just are not Klingon ships. They would make a great like
Gothic horror.
Weird Gothic horror. Yeah, put it in a new
Event
Horizon sequel. Yeah, I was just going to say that. Or have them be ships from another galaxy showing up. They're very intricate and very nice, but definitely Gothic and horror feeling for sure. So don't get me wrong, I do like the designs. They make very good, elaborate fantasy keys. A lot of them look like keys you'd find in a Final Fantasy game or something. But yeah, just not Klingon. The Klingons in Discovery are just ignore everything Klingon in Discovery and you're fine. But they don't tie into this lineage with ship design aesthetic at all. So yeah. And Patrick James throws in $10. Thank you so much. Damn it. I'm a super chatter, not a presenter. He says, damn it. I cannot stop thinking about this subject. So many choices. Yeah. It's a conversation that could go on forever if we, wanted it to be fair. It's a good choice, Commander. Earlier today, I was like, I don't feel like doing this today.
I said, okay, Stuart, we won't do it.
And I'm like, no, just do it. Do it.
So here we are.
Yeah, I told you once I came around to the live, I'd be in the mood for it. But just at the time, you hit me at a really bad time. You hit me in that small 1 hour window where I'm just like hangry and tired. And fucking leave me alone.
You haven't
had. We're going to be doing a live today. Oh, wait a minute, we are. That's right. Shit.
Yeah, I forgot as well. You hadn't had your Canadian maple syrup injection yet to reinfuse the energy, the Canadian energy. You were in American energy.
I was between the coffee injection and the maple syrup injection. So
2 veins, same time. Mm-hmm. It's like your little.
I take the beaver injection through the mouth. Take that as you will.
Speaking of Canada, Stuart, did you see the picture I sent the other day? Because there are Tim Hortons now in Kent, yes. Where Maria's.
Yeah, you have different menu choices by the looks of it.
I guarantee. Let me show the audience. Yeah, this was. I always send you a picture of going. I've only been there twice, but it's like, Stuart, I'm at the one Canadian place that's spread. Yes.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember Tim Hortons where you are being burgers.
No, they're not. They're like lunch. There's sandwiches. There's chili. There's salads.
Chili.
But there's no burgers or anything.
Because they have chicken burgers, beef burgers. You've also seen the picture. Chicken burgers, beef burgers, grilled wraps.
That's because
toasted melts.
Toasted melts and wraps. We do have those here, but the company that owns Tim Hortons is actually the same. It's actually Burger King that owns.
Oh.
The same company that owns Burger King, so okay. It looks like they've included some Burger King stuff.
I was going to say that is quite Burger King looking, vibe wise.
Yeah,
but I was kind of shocked at the prices because we got it last time I was there, and we just sort of ordered what we wanted, and they're like, "Oh shit, that much?" Ugh. And then the second time, like, we know what it's going to cost, but it was like £5 for a burger, like $7 for a burger, American.
Holy shit!
And it's like it was very tasty. Like, you could tell the meat was better, but it was like, that's a lot for this level burger, whereas a Five Guys burger is like $13, and you get like twice the burger, or feels like twice the burger, and it definitely tastes better.
Oh, Five Guys is so good.
Like, it is premier top, like, prices, but it is such a satisfying meal to have. And I had that chicken burger, which was good, but it looks crispy, soft as all hell. First bite, we don't really do crispy chicken in the UK for some reason. And that's delicious, but also soft.
So are you saying that the Tim Hortons in the UK is like the Klingon ships from Discovery. They just don't fit into the design aesthetic of our Tim Hortons here in Canada.
Yes.
That was a good analogy. Good call on that one.
Did you think of it, or did someone else think of it and prompt you?
No, I thought of that. Hold on 1 second. I just got to put this thing back because it's annoying me.
Okay. But it's fun to go to Tim Hortons in the UK. Yeah, so I should try a wrap next time. But yeah, that's really expensive because you associate sort of a burger in the UK being, you know, £4 average for, you know, but you know, if you're at a proper like burger restaurant, obviously you're paying more, but those you don't go to most of the time.
I have returned.
Hello.
You have 59 votes on the poll. Go vote, guys. We want to get to 100. We got to 162 on the last one. Keep hitting that like button. We're at 113. It's another 7 likes to get to 120.
Do it.
And we're like $70 away from our minimum. So
Should be good.
Some super chats coming in would be fantastic.
Yes. And Matt says in LA we used to between $8 and $25 for a burger, which I guess is like 14 to 35 for you.
Yeah, something like that.
When would you ever pay 35 Canadian for a burger? Like what situation?
Never. Well, no, it's. Yeah, I don't know.
But I mean,
there's some premium burger places around here.
But I mean, if there was one, in what situation would you say I'm going to go out and put down 25 or 30 for a burger plus drink plus maybe a side? Like, is that anniversary? Like, would you anniversary a burger at that cost, or is that like your business partner? I mean, like your bosses take you to lunch, you can buy anything on the menu, $30 burger. Or is that just too much?
A $30 burger. Oh, goddamn. Like $30, I want the burger, the fries, and the drink. You know? But
and some nuggets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's an expensive. Like that's a like what would a Happy Meal? I know it's not an expensive example, but what would a Happy Meal burger or what a classic burger, fries, and a meal be in McDonald's where you are?
It's like a Big Mac combo.
Yeah.
It's like
50.
$16.
Yeah.
$16.
Yeah.
For a combo, yeah. It's a drink and fries, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, you're not getting a good quality burger, really, but yeah. But
why are we talking about burgers? It's like one of my late night lives after the hour mark. We just go off the rails and talk about food.
Maybe it's about the design language of food, you know. But I would pay $10 for a Five Guys burger, which is like 18 Canadian, and then fries.
Yeah,
but it's good. Actually, I just reminded me. So we were given these French fries. They're hard to see. They're like are these the Tim Hortons French fries where you're from? They're like
they're the waffle fries.
Yeah, waffle fries. They weren't.
They're new.
Oh, they're new because they didn't have any normal fries. Like I liked them, but they weren't very flavorful.
They have waffle fries and they have wedge fries. They don't have
wedge.
Regular fries.
Yeah. Oh, and 25 is like a steak buffet. Yes. What's the most you pay for a all-you-can-eat buffet?
All-you-can-eat buffet around here, like $40, $45.
That's what you'd pay, like top, like that's the ceiling.
I mean, there's probably fancier ones that might be a little more.
But you would pay?
Like,
or would you pay?
$50. $50.
Whew. Yeah. That's like a 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. sort of just chill, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. With like seafood, Asian food, a whole bunch of different kinds of food.
Yeah, I miss buffets.
Yeah.
We had one in my university town that closed 6 months off. Actually, we had two, but the one I'm thinking of closed like a year after I got there. And obviously, as a student, you can't go many times, so I only got to be there 3 times. But it was really, really good, and it was really diverse. And the place burned down, so that's why it was no longer a thing. But it was great. There's like 3 zones. You just walk between, like say, Asian food and then Italian food, and nothing I think was ideal, but it had really, really good variety, and like the sauces were really good. Normally, you find like the fried stuff tends to be buffet, whatever. But the one I went to with Mark in Vegas was very nice. That was good. I liked the seafood there.
And Robert Westphal showed I'll actually show this interceptor thing that he sent me.
Okay.
It's a cool design actually.
Looks like out of Macross. Is that the one? Or
Yeah, it looks like something out of Macross or
yes,
Robotech or something.
I did it. I got it. Yes.
Sci-fi science interest throws in 10 pounds.
Thank you.
Seeing those Klingon ships, I am reminded for the ship below the D7, the quote by a future Admiral Riker saying, "Stand by, I will see if I can get the Klingons' attention." Very underrated 2-part episode.
Oh, really? You think all good things underrated? How much more rated can you get? It's like the definitive season finale. Like, it's shockingly good. Like, that's like that with a bit more money and CG could have been a movie, couldn't it? Really? Change the pace a little bit and have a decided opening with Troy and Worf, I think, for a movie would be a very, very handsome movie.
Yeah.
Klingon designs, yes. So
see, every Klingon ship has a Targ Hortons on board, so that's what prompted all this. And Mass Effect says infinite food and infinite combinations. In this case, it's more like infinite food and infinite conversations.
IFIC, yes.
Yeah.
But it does make me wonder, looking at this set, be really fun, and not literally kit bashing, but do new designs. But I'm looking at that Raptor. What if you elongated the head like the Negvar, added a red ring, warping, and then I'd love to see some of the designs given iteration, or like a bird of prey with more of a Negvar head, and maybe a top pod that's like a torpedo pod, like another one on the head. Like you look at these main design cues, or even put some nacelles in the bird of prey, like make it a faster version where the wings maybe have like underslung phaser emitters or something. So they swap around some parts. Could be quite interesting, because they've each got very different head shapes, nacelle shapes, but they're all unified in the same way. I don't know. What do you think? What would be cool there?
I mean, you said underslung guns. I mean, John Eves did that with the Retro Bird of Prey with that big underslung gun. Which, I would like to see some of these evolved to their final form, if you will. Like to see a Katinga. I mean, they kind of did that with the Vorcha. It's kind of like the progression of the Katinga design almost, but not. So it'd be interesting to have a designer take these and actually kind of move these forward a bit. But I mean, they kind of did that too at the same time. So I know what you're saying, but they already kind of did it.
But I mean, I don't mean literally I mean swap and shift the shapes around. I mean making new variants. I don't mean the next Vorcha. I mean,
like just kit bashy stuff.
But like with a new design rather than just taking them apart. Like a bird of prey with a Negvar head and a torpedo pod on the top. Little things like that. Same class structure, but re-quantify what it's able to do.
Hey, they did that in Prodigy. There's a new bird of prey. If you haven't seen our video on it, go check it out.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be kind of neat. But then it's like alternate reality kind of shit, like something you see in the Kelvin timeline or something.
Yeah.
No, I see what you're saying. It would be interesting for sure. There's lots you can do with many of these ships. So
I'm certainly looking at the bird of prey and I'm thinking, why don't they make multiple heads for it? And even swapping the guns around. What if you gave both? What if they were torpedoes pods instead? Why not just chop and change them slightly to give a new vibe? The same frame. Yeah.
It'd be cool to have a gun on one wing and then on the other wing like a Gatling type thing, but it's all like micro torpedoes. Kind of like the A10 gun on the A10s. Be kind of neat. But I mean, most of these are symmetrical. We only get into asymmetrical designs. We get like the Breen and stuff, which the Breen designs are great too, but I think we only see one class of ship ever for the Breen. So at least in canon.
Yeah, I mean, Stowe, they develop everything.
Interchangeable heads, like a Barbie bird of prey. Yes, Eric. There's a smiling head and a grimacing head. We're 74 votes on the poll, guys. If you haven't voted, go vote on the poll. 115 likes. That's awesome. Another 5 likes, and we get to 120. And we're so close. We're like 3/4 of the way to our minimum. So
pretty close.
So if you guys can super chat in, it would be good right now. We're just like right there. Do it.
Do it.
There hasn't been a consensus. I didn't think there would be during this live. I just love the discussion because I can't really pick, honestly. Yeah.
I'm trying to think how many Romulan ships. Because I'm trying to find my own renders versus whatever. Because we all did Romulans. I think we've pretty much done the main race. I guess I could look at Vulcan for a second. Because they're actually still quite different.
Olam Drab says my bird of prey would definitely need googly eyes.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah, they got to anamorphize a lot of these ships. Do them Cars style.
Dear me.
I'd be down for that.
Well, that could be an entire new spin-off on Paramount Plus.
Yes, an actual kids show.
Yeah.
Because Prodigy kind of...
We promised you a kids show, now the kids show. Because it wasn't a kids show. They promised us a kids show, it wasn't. Okay, so here is basically... Where's a fifth? I'll just get the fifth on. So there's a lot of...
And Eric, yes. Eric's right. He says the Borg ship from Descent was an asymmetrical design, but kind of cool looking. Yeah. That's because they weren't standard Borg, though, so...
That's part of the fun that I think one of the plaques in one of the museums said the idea behind the ship was that it was a ship, and then because they were sort of broken Borg, when they repaired the ship, it was repairing in odd ways, and so they ended up just kind of going a bit random because it wasn't able to construct in a unified way as it would have been for years and years and years, which is quite cool. Yeah. All right, so here is a slew of...
I hate Vulcan designs.
It's a great start.
Well, a lot of them look like jet skis, for Christ's sakes. Like watercraft. Come on.
Jet skis.
Tell me I'm wrong. You can't.
Tell me you're wrong without telling me you're wrong. Vulcan ships are jet skis.
Tell me you're wrong without telling me you're wrong. All I would have to do is show a picture of Samuel. Just kidding. I love you.
Or just Discovery Klingons. Show me a wrong decision without showing a wrong decision.
But that's showing them a wrong decision, so you kind of did. Anyway.
Or just like a video from the panel where Tyler Vockman said, "Coolish," just like, show me that, tell me that, show me. So, I mean, good for the team over at Enterprise. I mean, these are all pretty radically different shapes. If they were different paint schemes, would you really have said the bottom two are Vulcan rather than Alien of the Week?
Let's see, Adam.
Because they've lost the warp ring, which is the one thing that we know about.
Yeah. Yeah. Trying to remember what the... Is it in Armada 2? There's like a huge Cardassian warhead.
Yes. Well, it's in Voyager, but they use it in Armada.
Yeah. Because those two bottom ones just look like they could be warheads from different.
Oh, I see.
They don't look like ships necessarily. They look like manned warheads.
I think this is a great example of alternate design concepts for structure in the fleet. Just for the audience knowledge, the top left is a Surak class. It's a sort of standard survey classic middle ship. The top right is a freighter. It's a I think it's a freighter. Let me double confirm that.
Oh,
because I have all the names.
Eric Martin throws in $5 and says, "I do like the Vulcan shuttle from TMP. It's not a Vulcan shuttle though. It's a shuttle from Vulcan." but it's just a warp sled. It's a Federation warp sled
Yes.
attached to a shuttle.
Yeah. As I was saying, top left is the Vulcan Surrey class. It's a survey vessel. It's a standard ship of the line. Top right is a Vulcan transport ship, or quite small but quite different, using more civilian concept we saw. The middle is the warship variant, the Vulcan Trekyards class, which is the largest. The bottom left is the Vulcan transport ship second version. Also uses a fighter in an episode, which is a bit confusing because it's a shuttle pod size in one episode. And then the right hand one is the survey ship. That was the old one that went to Carbon Creek. So we have survey ship, warship, transport, fighter, and small survey shuttle.
And Jeff Chio says, first contact Vulcan ship is not like any of these designs. Yes, that's the T-Plana Hoth. And I think that one might have just been a auxiliary craft. I don't know if it's an actual ship. It's hard to say. It seems rather small when it lands, and I'm not necessarily sure that it didn't have a mothership in orbit. But yes, you're right.
Oh man,
it's not like any of these except for the coloring. So
yeah, I mean the problem with it would be different if the bottom right didn't exist, because that is a planetary survey ship. And if the T-Plana Hoth was there to survey local systems, it was going through Earth's vicinity and then picked up warp travel, so it wasn't directly a survey ship to them, but it could have been a survey ship, or it could have been a transport ship. It's definitely small, but it's not a shuttle size. But since most of the volume is legs and landing arrangement, it's probably not got much space internally. So it does kind of give off not a shuttle vibe, but a runabout vibe. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's so grand in the scene. But yeah, if you scaled it in a fleet shot, you'd be like, huh, it's 2 decks, sleeping quarters, and sofa beds. Yeah. But this is a great example, like I say, different profiles of ship, all entirely different profiles, and I like not having warp in everything. That's great. I mean, you don't even need warp on the bottom left in theory.
Yeah. Area 51, $10
Thank
for
you.
the classic Star Trek 3 Bird of Prey. Long may she fly. Yes, indeed. It's been around forever, and it's going to continue to be around forever. It's a great design.
And Robert asked me a very pointed question. Samuel, you got my name right there. Cockins, thank you. Think you could digitally render a realistic version of an interceptor bomber for an original sci-fi hyperdimensional FTL travel series?
That's the one I showed you.
Oh, right. Maybe? I have 3D team for a reason, but, always doing Trek stuff, etc. There are people I could recommend.
Takes money.
Well, yeah, I mean, budget for modelers, etc., etc.
Good tea, nice house, throws in $2. Vidian ships and the Hirogen Hunter ships are nice. Trying to remember what the hell a Vidian ship looks like.
Oh, I can. It was reused a couple of times, but yeah, Google it. I just got to reply to something.
Yeah. Ships, Star Trek. Let's see here. Well, they're interesting enough. They look like something. Actually, they look like the ISC ships, Interstellar Concordian ships from Starfleet battles. That's funny. That's a Vidian ship there. Yeah, they look like the ISC ships from Starfleet battles, just like a refitted version of it. That's funny. And the Hirogen. I think I know what those look like. Hirogen, all right. Yeah, those are cool. They kind of look like battle stars. Eric Martin, $5. I like the Andorian ships from Enterprise. We kind of talked about those earlier. Yes, very cool designs as well. We're also at 121 likes, which is awesome. So thank you guys. We're $25 away from our minimum. So if anybody can help us get to that, would be amazing. And we have 82 votes on the poll. So if you guys haven't voted on the poll, go do that. We'd like to get to 100 votes if possible. But but yeah. Yeah, not the biggest fan of Vulcan designs, honestly. The one in the thumbnail is a nice one that I kind of like, but the rest are kind of shit. That top one, the top right, looks very much like a bug, like a husk of a beetle or something.
Yeah, it's got so much character for me. I wish I could use that more.
Yeah, but I just don't like it. So
I get it, but I just like the fact that it's two half rings. I like that. That's nice.
Yeah. There's one that has 3 rings as well. It's not official. But...
well, there is. Okay, let me get that one. That one's a weird one because that's canon, but also not at the same time.
Right. Okay,
there you go.
The Dreadnought. Eric Martin, $10. Here you go. Enough for half a burger combo.
And there's 2 of us, so it's actually a quarter.
Right. I'll give Samuel a few fries.
Thanks, man. Right, is that the one you were thinking of, Stuart?
Hold on, I gotta wait for the delay.
3 Vidian ships in Voyager. I think it was the same miniature reused.
Yes, that's the one I'm thinking of.
Do you remember when we see that? I think it's only 1 Vidian ship in Enterprise.
I want to say something future.
Oh, and the reused. I suppose I mean, it's the same design. There's just 2 types where they change the miniature, and then one is redressed. Yeah, this is from Daniel's future schematics, which is really funny because obviously all they just did is they just took the first model they built, cloned it, and put it inside itself. Because that's all it is. There's nothing new here. It's just let's make a new shape, but it's blurry and hologrammy, so it looks cool. But you can see the geometry is just stuck inside itself. No thought put in at all, Stuart. Like physically wise, it's 0% new build, and that's okay.
I remember seeing a nicer rendered one though. Was it maybe in the accident shirt thing in the distance or something?
No, but that's a very nice Vulcan ship. That is.
That's maybe the one I'm thinking of. Yeah,
I think I've used that for Romulan War, I believe. That's great. That's got a ring like a bottom glowy bit. But it's funny because if a fan was to make a new version of that ship I just shown, they obviously wouldn't put itself in itself. So they'd design a better version.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Sean O'Sullivan, €2. Disco hauling garbage or hauled away as garbage.
Okay, I'm back.
General Grievous, $2. A Vulcan ship on lower left looks like a squid head. Yeah. The top one looked like a beetle. Yeah, they used a lot of organic shapes, like the Ferengi Marauders, like kind of like a horseshoe crab. So are some of the Cardassian designs. They're like earwigs and stuff. They use organic shapes to get inspired for these ship designs. So.
Sorry, I was trying to wait 3D modeler who appeared for the first time in a while. Because, I'm trying to... Need to get those interior sets built, Stu. I've got so many things.
And Robert Westfall says, wow, nearly 2 hours. Yeah, it's like every one of our lives.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Even though you have to do... You got a thing soon.
Yeah, I believe so.
But no, so I think we're at the final hurdle. So... let's do the poll, and I'll re-ask the question. Maybe the opinions change. So I asked 91 votes. Are the Klingon designs too similar in vibe, or the right amount of shared design lineage? A lovely 79% think yes, perfect to share the design vibes, and 20% think it's all too similar. I think that's a good ratio. So I'm going to do the same poll we did earlier and see if you change your mind. So quick vote in the poll over a few minutes. Put instant responses in the second thing.
Absolutely. And we need another $10 to get to our minimum. So somebody save us. $10 super chat would be great. Yeah, again, I was going to say something, but now I can't remember what the hell it was. I'm getting old. Sorry.
Known you 8 years, buddy. A different decade of our lives, almost.
I know, right?
Jesus.
Anyway. So yeah, I mean, just a quick shout out, like to everybody in there, put in the chat right now or super chat in with, if you had to pick like one alien species or design style for ships, what's your favorite? Just throw it out there. It doesn't have to be what's on the thumbnail. It can be one of the other ones, like the Breen or whatever as well. So keep that in mind. Robert, that's not something you can really talk about on here, so maybe shoot an email and Samuel will answer you. Probably the best way to do it. 3 more likes, get to 130 would be awesome as well. So 3 more likes and $10. We're good to go. Has anybody... Nobody has put in the chat what they think their best design style is, or design language. Oh, Starship Yoshi's Tiho, Klingon, or Romulan.
I mean, obviously, there's going to be a disadvantage of the ships that have been given fleshed out variations. But I think these 5 races certainly were. But as we said right at the start, or I said anyway, each one has their own unique way of approaching their own lineage. Of, are things super similar? Are they super different? Are they just taking one element and recycling it? You know, pretty interesting sets. And these are all different designers.
A fellow named Steven in the chat says Klingons for sure, ever since we saw them in classic 1960s Trek. Revolutionary design by Matt Jeffries.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Steven.
Mm-hmm.
Mario says, I would go with Romulans just after seeing what STO was able to do with their originals.
Well, Stowe's got some very good Romulans, I would say.
Sonic Hedgehog says Klingons by far. Trouble Armstrong says I like Vulcans and Borg too. Good Teen Ice House throws in the $10 we needed, so thank you so much.
Thanks, Wolf.
Did Eagle Moss ever make a model for Captain Proton's ship? Yes, there is an Eagle Moss Captain Proton ship.
It's as simple as you'd think.
Yep.
Still nice to have him. I'm, you know, who else would make it? That's the great thing about Eagle Moss. They made what you would not think. Oh, speaking of, turns out that Ben got the rights, got all that stuff to make the DeLorean and the Enterprise D thing from the same people that made my Star Wars models.
Nice.
So with their very odd website that's not very good, and the shipping that took a month. So those guys, but they've done a R2D2, and they've done it's exact. So I thought they were like a competitor, but they've just bought the stuff, so they're now like doing the same thing just with these extra licenses. That's great. It's good. It's very much what they do. It's a good choice. And UK again. But I guess there must be some sort of licensing thing, like in UK courts. You know, like
maybe
I would assume that would be part of the limit, because contract signed between countries is different. You would think.
Yeah. Well, guys, go vote on that poll if you haven't. Let's see. We've got 28 votes, and the results are similar. Klingons are at 61%, Romulans at 32%, and Cardassian and Dominion are both sitting at 4% with a tie.
Do you have a new... Do you have a 51% consensus on yourself? If you had to...
Probably still go with Klingon. Yeah, it's a tough one, because I do like the Romulans as well. Romulans and the Klingons are very close. Our Cardassians I also like, so... But I'm thinking of a lot of the designs of Cardassian ships you see in games, such as like Armada and stuff as well. So...
That is true. That is very true.
Yeah, that's tough. I'm just going to stick with the Klingons, I think.
Yeah, it is. I think Romulan is more creative, but there's less of them. Klingon is far more fleshed out, but more samey.
Klingons have had 50 years to marinate too. They've been around since the beginning.
Yeah, they have a real fleet feel. Cardassian, I think, is a very good... For a simple silhouette, it details out very nicely with some great ideas. Dominion, very cohesive, and Vulcan so cohesive they're dull.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're logical designs, therefore.
Well, exactly. Yeah. Plus, they represent the TOS of the NX era of advancement. So they have no external greeblies, smooth hulls. NX does not. So they're kind of the oomph of that. Versus like the Andorians, was literally big, bulbous, curved greeblies inside of their ships. Because there are. So I don't know if that was intentional, but you can see that after the fact. Yeah.
Yeah. Massive Effect goes in $15 Australian.
Thank you. Oh, Australian. Cool. Yeah.
Star Trek needs more asymmetrical designs. Do they though? I think they got a good mix. We got as Eric pointed out, the one ship, a Borg ship from Redemption. We also got the Breen.
Yeah.
That's probably all I can think of right offhand, but I'm sure there's one or two more in there somewhere.
The thing is, what is the benefit of asymmetrical?
I don't know. Nothing really.
There's probably something specific to the symmetry of a ship, the mathematical build nature of it. You would think would be part of it.
You would. You think it would make creating the warp bubble or the warp field around the ship much easier when it's symmetrical. When it's a symmetrical design, yeah. So asymmetry is almost a disadvantage. Could be.
Because I get adding like pods, but why would you put them around a pod off to the left? Like, it makes sense to centralize things, so very few things would be uncentralized. I get for civilian people, like the lady in Lower Decks, the archaeologist, asymmetrical. That makes sense to swap out things. That's fine, but that's a person owning a ship. Yeah, because even if I'm thinking of like an Akira pod, throw a new pod in, I would still put it in the middle. I wouldn't move it off to one side. And if I was, I'd put two of them there. You know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because formula's got to follow function. So if you want to do pods, then just have two pods. Or one giant pod. Or four smaller pods.
I think the reason we like symmetry so much is because of aircraft. They kind of have to be symmetrical. Whereas in space you don't need that. So if you're looking at the design aesthetics from a spacefaring standpoint, you don't need the symmetry, but we're so used to seeing it that we like it. You can't have an aircraft that's really asymmetrical.
But then we also have like houses that are often symmetrical, except like a chimney, if there's a chimney. TVs are symmetrical. You know, I mean, I would think most things are symmetrical. If they can be, you know, some things can't be functionally, but I would think most things are just symmetrical by nature, at least roughly. Like maybe not like precisely to the millimeter, but I don't know.
Well, nature itself, like leaves, are symmetrical.
Yeah, there we go. That's a good example. But then I'm
just used to it.
But then like a tree isn't symmetrical, doesn't grow symmetrical. Like like for I would think a lot of the time. Although I guess if you're creating fictional lines, like is a strawberry symmetrical? Depends where you cut it. If there's bulbous on one side, you cut it to make it symmetrical, or not.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a curveball, Massive Effect. That was a good $15 of what the hell are we talking about now? I like it.
But anyway, yeah. I do have to go.
Yes. Sorry. Yes.
So thank you everybody that super chatted.
Winner,
the poll
Klingon.
Is done.
Yes.
Klingons 59%, Romulans 32%, Cardassians 5%, and the Dominion 3%.
Damn.
So good numbers there.
Cool. All right.
So thank you everybody that watched. Please like the video if you haven't already. Share it around. It was a good discussion. And cut out that food bit. And and also, if you're watching this after the fact, hit a super thanks to really help us out as well. So.
And go watch Titan video from yesterday and tune in for our Titan video for tomorrow.
That's right.
There we go.
Until next